Here's the story from the LA Times. Immigration raids intensify with hundreds of arrests and tense moments across the LA area. Check this out. The White House confirmed on Wednesday that 330 people have been taken into custody by federal authorities since immigration sweeps began last week in Los Angeles. White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said of those 113 individuals, about a third of the group had prior criminal convictions. Indeed. Following this, ICE will be deploying tactical agents in Seattle, Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, and Northern Virginia. Post-millennial reports, Immigration and Customs Enforcement is preparing to deploy special response teams, SRTs, to 5 urban areas. Seattle, Chicago, Philly, New York, Northern Virginia. As chaos is erupting in these Democrat-run cities, an exact timeline for the deployment remains unclear, but the order to stand by has already been issued to all SRT, all special response teams in the affected areas. And I think it's gonna light up this weekend. Curfew is still in place in Los Angeles. I heard that they actually made several arrests. There were some mass arrests after the curfew was enacted last night. And don't forget, we're going to have the No Kings protest this weekend, sponsored, of course, by Christy Walton, which is triggering a boycott from MAGA.
Brought to you by Walmart.
Indeed. Indeed. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, no, the left was boycotting Target because they were getting rid of DEI policies. So all the big box stores are suffering right now.
Yeah, apparently. I think that the possibility for a new summer of love is actually materialized. I was a little skeptical about whether or not there was going to be something that had the impulse. I still don't think that this is going to be as widespread as this. Should there be, a lot more? Should these riots carry on? Should it be a lot more widespread? I still don't think that it'll have the cultural impact as the 2020 did because of the George Floyd riots and because of the fact that, again, people have to go to work, and when you shut the country down and you have people that can go out and do, a little bit of fun activism, throw stuff, maybe get arrested by the cops, have a little fire in the street, people will do that because they're bored.
Yeah. I also think that one of it is there was a very, very iconic visual image. Like the image of what happened to George Floyd was so embedded in people's minds. Yeah. It was such a such a awful thing to look at. Whatever you think of what happened, that was a very, very stirring visual image, and that led to a lot of what you saw.
That was the key. That was the key thing. The knee on the neck, that drove everything, and it went viral. But now it's not really that kind of image. It's just the idea of so-called immigrants being kicked out.
And to that point, it's actually a situation where the images that are coming out are positive towards the conservative perspective. Americans don't like to see foreigners waving foreign flags, fighting with our police officers. They just don't like to.
Which country would allow that?
None.
Let's try maybe Costa Rica.
You're gonna be on the beach by yourself with an American flag. Hey,
yeah.
Look, the countries with the least functional governments, countries like Haiti and countries like possibly Somalia, you hear those countries mentioned, even they wouldn't put up with it. You're going to get literally chopped up in pieces and thrown on a barbecue in Haiti. Right. And Somalia, the local warlord isn't going to put up with it. If you're waving his opposing malicious flag, and they'll do things that are far more terrible to you there than are going to happen here. And that's probably why you won't see anyone testing the limits there whereas you will here.
Even in their own home country. Okay, you're flying the flag of X country. Can you go to your country and do that? What you're doing here?
No.
I suppose one of the things they do have to worry about is as this goes on and as violence intensifies, they have to worry about some type of police action getting taken too far and then getting clipped and then being shown in a specific way. If something goes horribly wrong and somebody does die in the middle of these protests at the hands of law enforcement and it's clipped the way that the left would like to clip these things, which is not to show inciting incidents, only show the aftermath of what happens, that runs the risk of being another visual image that could be very powerful if it's shown to people on the internet.
Yo, it was crazy. I was watching The Five today, and Jessica Tarlov was lying. She was like, Trump's underwater, his polling's miserable. He's like -12 on immigration, and I was like, what? I track this stuff all day, every day. I read all the aggregate polling, and he's doing massively. His aggregate polling it's about -2.6. So it's within the margin of error. That's really good. And on immigration, he's net positive in aggregate across the. It's crazy. Yeah. They cherry pick a singular poll that gives them the results they want, then go on TV and go, "Can you believe how bad Trump is doing?" And the crazy thing is that Jesse didn't yell at her.
Part of me feels bad for Jessica in that context, just because she's the chew toy for all the Republicans. They just beat her up all the time. And
maybe she shouldn't, spread misinformation.
I agree. The point that I'm making, though, is when you're in that situation, you have to be right, and you can't spread misinformation, like Tim was saying. You can't.
So you're saying just be a conservative?
Well, I mean, that's not exactly what I was saying, but it would functionally probably be about the same.
But the media always does that. They always put out a fake story or misleading information. Maybe they'll retract it a year later, 6 months later, but by the time you see the retraction, it doesn't matter because the initial story is what is stuck in the minds of the people.
And it's very hard to get people to change their mind about something once they believe it. The first way they hear it is always, it's as Tim's brought up multiple times about the very fine people hoax, is that when people are showed concrete evidence that what they were told was a lie, they cling on to what they believe even harder because your brain can't handle that a lot of the time. You have to kind of come to those conclusions on your own. Like if you're ever somebody who's like made some type of journey politically from either the left to the right, or even I guess if you're somebody who's gone from the right to the left, I'm sure that does happen, is that you don't get there by your friends necessarily saying, look at this is what's true. It's you go, you have a slightly open mind and you go looking for information. And
I just think at this point it's a cult, as I've stated numerous times. But I think more so now because several people I know they all know the talking point. And I'm saying right now, there are people that I know that I've known for a long time, and I'm seeing them post about this. And they are intentionally lying as well now. Like, it's not just the TV personalities and the prominent liberals in media. It's ground level, grassroots liberal individuals intentionally lying. So the narrative now that they're pushing is that there were no riots, that there were people peacefully playing music and dancing, and then Trump called in the National Guard and started shooting people.
Right.
They're omitting the Waymos being torched and burned. They're omitting the SUVs getting pelted with rocks and smashed up and set on fire. They're omitting the people taking over the highways. They're omitting the far left pelting the federal HQ where ICE was with rocks to stop them from getting out. And they're just saying, no, it was just people were dancing. And then Trump attacked them. It's you know what it reminds me of? Remember when Jack Posobiec got punched? Mm-hmm. And the cops watched it happen? Mm-hmm. And then some woman walks up and goes, I saw everything. Nobody hit him. Or no, she said something like, I didn't see anything. And she just looks smugly into the camera. That's what they all do. From the bottom up, they are just, it's just a cult.
You're mentioning the fact that it's, they're exceedingly dishonest is probably a charitable
academic way to put it.
Yeah, it's a charitable way to put it. And I just saw this on Twitter or X. Rolling Stone is saying that the No Kings protest, the headline says millions of Americans are expected to head to the streets on June 14th to oppose Trump's dictator-style birthday parade. What exactly? Like they
it's
can't
Flag
even
Day.
get. Yeah, it's Flag Day. It's also the 250th birthday of the U.S. Army. Like there are multiple things going on.
Well, there's nothing the left hates more than celebrating the American flag.
Well, yeah, absolutely,
Well, yeah,
it's true. But the point is like if I was on maybe the No Kings protests or whatever, the demonstrations are in response to this parade, because this parade's been, he's been talking about it. I think he was talking about it on the stump last year as well. But still, like they can't get their message together. They don't even know what they're angry about. These protests or demonstrations are taking off nationwide, and they're not really sure what they're protesting other than Donald Trump. And clearly these protests are going to merge in with the No Kings, and they're going to be like, oh, this is just us rising up. But against what? Against the government enforcing the law that is broadly popular with the American electorate?
Right.
Half of those people are lying, and the other half don't understand that what happened is far more complicated than what they're being shown, right? So if you're going to go, for instance, over the 4th of July and you're going to go see family, come armed with the videos of the, the bricks off the bridge and the Waymos burning and all of the violence that's happened, because they will have not seen any of that. They didn't pay attention to any of that. And if they did, it was in the context of some talking head on the screen telling them this has been a mostly peaceful and, they're just out there having fun. Bonfires. That's what they were doing. They were having bonfires on the Waymos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peaceful bonfires.
Yes, peaceful bonfires.
That made me think
on racist Waymos. That's right.
Well,
Now it's okay.
they're stealing jobs from the
That's right. The Waymos
minorities.
are stealing jobs from the people who cook our food and clean our toilets.
Look who drives Ubers. They're almost always immigrants. Waymo is stealing jobs from immigrants.
That's a good point.
You
And when you
burn the Waymos.
there was this video that went viral of this Asian woman in a taxi, and she's like, if you don't care about families being ripped apart, then maybe you care about being selfish. Don't you know that all these illegal immigrants, and then she goes through this list of they're more likely to clean your toilet and cook your food and do construction. And I was just like, Democrats want slaves.
Yeah.
She outright says in this video that these people can't vote. They get low pay. They get no benefits. And we love it. And I'm like, I don't send them home.
It's the same exact thing they did from the beginning. They freed the slaves, and then they've been mad about it ever since.
They're trying to find another way to get it, basically. They're like, bring in illegal immigrants. Joe Biden literally did this. He created probably one of the largest slave classes anywhere in the world. What he did was brings in millions of non-citizens, has the CBP then give them their hearings for their asylum, status, and then drops all the cases, creating de facto permanent residency with no rights. Mm-hmm. So now you have people who get paid dirt to work low-skilled jobs. No benefits, no recourse, no unions, no OSHA, none of those protections. And that's what the Democrats have been doing. They've been desperate for their slaves back.
I mean, unless you're in California where they want to give you the right to vote and $9.5 billion
and D.C. as well.
In D.C. as well.
That's crazy. Totally crazy. But it's that permanent underclass of people that they want to have. You do all the jobs, the dirty jobs, all that kind of stuff. It's for y'all. So that's why I kind of get offended when they say, oh, they do the jobs that Americans don't want to do. It's like, no, you guys don't want to do those jobs. I have no problem doing those jobs.
Yeah.
They don't want to do any jobs.
They don't want to do anything.
We saw that guy and he was like, oh no, work. In that video.
That was a terrible video. Awful. Hated that guy.
Depends on
what's wrong with these
for.
It's crazy to me because I can see the psychological disorder in that man. For those that aren't familiar, there's this video going viral. Black woman is arguing with these protesters saying, like, I need to get to work. Like, what about my kids? And then Savannah Hernandez asks this white guy who's blocking the car, and she's like, how do you feel about blocking a black woman from going to work? And he goes, oh no, work. It's crazy to me because I want to work all the time nonstop. Everything I do, I'm working. I wake up, I work, I eat food, skate, and then I work. But these people have some kind of fractured mind, this derangement, where they literally they want to do the opposite. And I'm like, how have we cultivated generations, plural, of this kind of person?
Who just has no desire to work whatsoever.
And I want to stress, I'm not talking about, it's like, what they end up saying is, so you can make some billionaire rich. And it's like, dude, sell beads, man. Yeah. Like, sit in the corner, put a blanket on the ground and sell beads. These people don't want to do anything.
Yeah, right. The cop out of, I'm going to make my boss rich, or et cetera, et cetera. If you're going to work and you're focused on that, like, I feel like, well, I mean, I'm not sure why you would focus on that, but like, your needs must be met, right? If you can say, oh, I'm making this other guy rich, then you must be making enough money so that way you have time to think about things like, man, I'm not getting as much as I want to get.
Well, they think that in the communist revolution that they will be the one who makes the art.
That's what they all think. They all think that way. It's like, no, you're going to get shot first, actually. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Well, no, I mean, even if not that, you'll be sent to the mines. You'll be sent to work.
Yeah.
But this is historically correct. The revolutionaries are the first to be removed after a revolution because they are the biggest threat to the new power structure.
That's right.
Yeah, I was talking to Rudyard Lynch earlier, and he was making the point that, the French Revolution was incoherent. This is what leftists and communists tend to do. They have no coherent framework, and so it just tends to be chaos when they end up overthrowing a country. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's the goal. That's why the revolution is constant, is because the revolution, when they install the new power base or whatever, like it invariably has hierarchy, has all kinds of things that the left just says are bad and stuff, and so you have to have a constant revolution because all existing hierarchies will calcify and become oppressive and stuff. So there has to be a consistent revolution. That's why you had, Cuba had the revolution was ongoing, and they were
today
40 years after the revolution.
the Venezuelan government calls it the revolution.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's been decades. And when I was there 10 years ago, and they said that I was a threat to the revolution. And it's like, it's been 20 years. What revolution are you talking about? It's ongoing. It never stops. And it's because when they say evil dictator is bad man, fascists are bad, but then remove all of that and they're in control, they have to keep telling you, no, they're still here, somewhere lurking, ready to bring fascism back.
Oddly enough, it's the same way that like nonprofits work, which is that if they actually achieve their goal, they don't need to exist anymore. If you're a charity, like if you're looking to cure some disease, you don't actually benefit from curing the disease because then you're not making any money for the executives anymore.
Well, yep. I told this. I heard a story a long time ago, and I'm going to leave the company out of it. But everybody who knows me knows the name of the company. But a shoe company. I met a guy who said he was like a mid-level manager, VP, and he quit because they said we're not selling enough shoes because they last too long. Is there a way we can make them fall apart faster? Can we remove a certain percentage of the material from the sole, perhaps? And he was like, is this a joke? And they were like, people are wearing their shoes for months. What do we do? And he's like, make a good shoe. Nope, that's not the way it works.